I've had some odd sounds from the rear of this three-wheeler. It's a Honda 200E. We decided to bring it inside and have a look at it. Lifted it up on a bench. Removed the wheels. It's a lock pin and then a nut, nothing fancy. With the wheel removed, there is a cover over the brake drum. It's drum brakes on it. Needed a few taps to come undone. Started pulling on things and it seems like the bearing has some play in it, I thought initially. We went a little further. We're gonna pull the axle out. Yeah, the wheel on the other side needed to be removed. On this one, the drivetrain is encased in a housing. It's a normal chain drive. Open that up. It's a little tricky because we have a skid plate underneath, the homemade, made years ago, that's been holding up well. We didn't have the proper size tool, so we welded some things together to undo the nuts holding the rear axle in place. They were on there quite good, so we added a little heat to ease it, make it a little easier. With them loosened, it was just a matter of getting them all the way out, and it's a super fine thread on here, so many revolutions to have them come undone. Held the other side with a pipe wrench to loosen the inner nut, and with both nut removed, found some plastic material and a few taps and it started moving. But needed to undo the chain, remove the master link. Had tried loosening the chain tensioning and see if it could be slid off without splitting it, but that looked like a no-go, so went this route, and then the axle could be tapped and pulled out. Then the brake drum came undone. We put it back in without the brake drum and started looking at it. Actually, the axle is a little worn, so there is play between the axle and the bearing. We looked at if it was possible to remove the sprocket carrier, but it doesn't really seem to want to budge, because even the other side where the bearing is supposed to sit is a little worn and a tiny bit of play, even if it's worse on one side. And if adding a little welding and putting it in a lathe to refurbish the surface area where the bearing sits, the sprocket carrier kind of needs to be removed. But we decided to look at what the condition of the bearings were, so we actually tapped them out and looked at them, and they looked to be in okay condition. Had the seals off and put some fresh grease in there. Decided for now to just reinstall things. Did add some grease here because some corrosion could be seen in this, where the distance between the bearings sits. Did buy a couple of new seals for it, because when the axle can move a little inside the bearing, the seals kind of get worn prematurely. Bearings installed, new seals, and then the axle was slid back in and the brake drum put back on there. Nuts were threaded back on. There is also an O-ring here that's helps sealing that I forgot to actually show. Had a screwdriver to hold hold it in place while tightening the first nut, and then that welded tool was used to lock the two nuts together. Cover for the brake drum was added, and then the chain drive side, the chain was put back together, and then the tensioner was tightened so that since it's a stiff one, there is no suspension on it, you can have the chain quite tight without troubles. And then it was getting in there and tightening the bolts holding the axle carrier in place. Cover for the chain was put back on. We had also noticed there was a crack near the ball hitch on it, so we'll later have that off and do a little welding on that. We did put the covers back on. Yeah, here the ball hitch is off, and clean things up and put it in the blasting cabinet, and a little welding to cover that crack. Here I had big issues. The wheel didn't really, it was like it wasn't going in there far enough, and I was struggling with it. We also found that the cover for the chain wasn't in there fully, so we had things apart. Here I realized the issue. I had flipped the wheel the wrong way. So, and my dad was about to start grinding things to get it to line up, but it was as simple as flipping it, and everything was lining up as it should. It was we had the seal around it on the lower edge has kind of come undone, and it wasn't sitting as flush with everything as it did, so the little cover outside was grinding. But with the seal on there properly, it was just lifting it down again.